Revival. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Revival. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
The Revival Initiative. What's an initiative?
Hello, friends of the internet. How are you today? It's Mike Ryan here, host of the Revival Initiative. Today is episode 13, and as always, we have three amazing guests. First up, we have Izra Fitch. Izra is a former music arts grad, a fantastic performer, fantastic keyboard player, synth player, and singer as well. And she plays with a number of groups, including Maximum Overdrive, Good Dear Good, and her solo debut, Hollywood Kids, is coming out this summer. So, pay close attention to Izra, she's amazing in every way. Next up, we have Mike Fong. Mike played in the legendary Halifax band The Wayo, and is now putting out amazing, dark-sounding synth pop on his own. The production on his videos is very good, next level, lit some would say. And you can check all that out on his Instagram if you want to take a closer look at his videos, which you should. And finally we have T. Thomason. T's an amazing performer, amazing guitar player and singer. He has won an episode of The Launch on CTV, which was incredibly cool to see. And T also has a song with Ria Mae called Loser Part 2. Loser Part 1 is also a very good song, which just came out last week. So check out Loser Part 2, check out T online. He's an awesome dude, awesome performer, an awesome part of the music scene here in the East Coast. So, three awesome guests. Let's dive head first in and let's have a good time. Here we go, episode 13.
The Revival Initiative.
I came home to the valley, and I came home to be closer to my parents, so here's a little song that I wrote about them back before we were staying home. My father said, get out there and look around, get out of your head and be glad for the ground, 'cause you never know, you never know, you never know what's coming. He said, I raised you to think critically, I raised you to smile while you bleed, I raised you to be someone, to be something. He said, hold on to this, past all your fears, you will find bliss, yeah. Hold on to this, past all your fears, you will find bliss. My mother said, hey son, when you coming home, can you call me more when you're gone, 'cause you never know, you never know, you never know just what's coming. She said, when you were born and you looked at me, well, we had to go and get out of that city. We're runaways, babe, runaways to the sea. She taught me this, past all your fears, you will find bliss, yeah. She taught me this, move past your fears, you will find bliss. Whoa, oh, yeah. Bliss. Well, now I just walk, and the farther I go, footprints I leave ain't mine no more. I'm stepping with a changing shadow. just walk and hope I'm getting close, catching up on all the ghosts I'd like to get to know. So I hold on to this. Past all your fears, you will find bliss. Yeah. Hold on to this. Move past your fears, you will find bliss. Thank you.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I heard you crying about the winter. Something's leaking, something bitter, but there's just no use in trying to stop it. The world's just turning like a faucet. You're just trying to make it like everybody else is. Just forget the fear and give me a little kiss. Opportunities come and they go. When you don't connect, that leaves you feeling low. Then late one summer night, I saw him standing there. I could tell by his white smile, well, I knew he didn't care, and that was fine by me, probably for the best. It's time I make my way back home and get some needed rest. You're just trying to make it like everybody else is. Just forget the fear and give me a little kiss.
The Revival Initiative.
I'm going to start off with a song that I wrote recently. The title for now is 23. I wrote it a few weeks after the start of the pandemic. I think I was slowly getting self-esteem back and everything after being in a very low point, as I'm sure many people were in at the start of being quarantined. And so it came out as this like self-love song, which is different for me because I usually write about boys and girls that I'm in love with, and so it was nice to write a song that's just for me. And now it's not about myself anymore. It's really just a self-love song, and want to put it out there to all of you guys. I hope that you're taking care of yourselves and taking care of your head during this crazy time. So this is 23.
No
Initiative.
Well, I'm gonna end with a song that it was an important song for me in 2019, and I'm excited to talk a little bit. I think I'm gonna come and do a classroom session or an AMA and talk about some of the things that I learned through the experience of doing the launch, which was a show on CTV, a music reality competition kind of a show, and I ended up winning an episode and getting to work with really cool mentors like Sarah McLachlan and Ria Mae, who's an amazing pop star from Quebec. And yeah, I learned so much working on that show with them, and making this next song my own. And I'm excited to share some of that with you. So here's hope. Yeah, feels particularly relevant right now. It ain't the same as yesterday. Now I'm black, now I'm blue, want someone to blame. No, it ain't gonna be the same. But if faith still remains, that's enough for change. I thought I had a patient heart, thought I had the means to understand this. Even if I don't, I'll hold you close to me. Yeah. You got that oh 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 oh. Kept us hiding and oh, oh, oh. Yeah, so tell me you're true. Lay your bones next to me and we can talk it through. Are you tired and confused? Well, I have lived in my head and I have worn out those shoes. Yeah. Thought they had patient hearts, thought they had the means to understand us. Even if they don't, I'll hold you close to me. Yeah. We got that oh 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 oh. Kept us hiding and oh, oh, oh. Right now all we need are the people. Right now all we need is some peace. Stand tall, stand strong, stand equal. All my people. We need hope, hope, yeah. We need hope, 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 hope. I'll look you in the eye, I'll apologize for every belief that has kept us hiding and hope, hope, hope. Right now all we need are the people. Right now, all we need is some peace. Stand tall, stand strong, stand equal. All my people, yeah, all my people.
The Revival Initiative.
afraid of your own shadow. I'm afraid that's rightly so. If you lose a handle on it, it could turn into your foe. And you know that's true. You could spend your days asking every way whether this role is for you. Jumping from ship to ship, even with your wit, beware the consequences of living with fake smiles. And who gets to say what are the ways of living that best suit the day? Living with this uncertainty, climate change is no joke, yet it seems to me how. Yeah, we know it's true, yet we spend our days asking every way if our method's hard for you. Jumping from ship to ship, even with your wit, beware the consequences of living with fake smiles.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
This is exciting. I always close with this song when I play live with the band, and that's always when I'm saying all my thank yous and introducing everyone that I play with, so I never get to really explain what this song is about. It's definitely my most lovesick song that I have. I think it's called Runway, and it's about that feeling of regret, not telling somebody how you feel about them before they leave and fly off to their home country. It's a vulnerable one, but it's so fun to play because I remember when I wrote it and when we play it live, and even what I'm about to do with the guitar, I really wanted to mimic that sound of like a plane taking off, because that's the whole storyline behind it. Yeah, this is Runway.
come to our store. I'm at the shoreline where we made it, but I'm living in a city where I couldn't say it. So I think about it all the time. Oh, I should've stopped the plane there on the runway. I think about it all the time. Said I love you back there on the runway. Oh, I should've stopped the plane there on the runway. On the runway, on the runway, on the runway. I think about it. I didn't say I love you back. I couldn't say I love you back. Now I'm looking for you all the time. Here on the runway, waiting for you all the time. Here on the runway, on the runway. I should've stopped the plane there on the runway. I think about it all the time. Said I love you back there on the runway. I think about it all the time. I should've stopped the plane there on the runway. On the runway, on the runway, on the runway. I think about it on the runway.
The Revival Initiative.
Okay then, welcome to Revival Revelations, the part of the episode where we dig deep with the special guests to find out a little bit more about them. Stay tuned. Why is making music important to you?
I feel like it kind of gives me an opportunity to air things out or dig deeper into things that I might not be able to in my everyday life, in my everyday persona. So yeah, that's a big part of making music is exploring those feelings that you know that might be dormant otherwise.
Well, on a personal level, I find music to be very therapeutic, especially where there are so many terrible and dark things happening in the world right now. I think music can be a creative distraction, both for musicians and for those who listen to music.
Making music is important to me because it's just such a vice for myself, I think. It's just a place where I can take really intense feelings and put it somewhere other than my head. And it's like this really cool way where you can like relive the like more euphoric, nostalgic moments that you like, and then get some sort of like redemption over the more heartbroken, lovesick feelings. And yeah, the hope is that when the songs are played live or they're released as singles, that other people can relate to them, and that's the best feeling. But yeah, it's just very much needed for my well-being.
What is one thing you know now but wish you knew when you first started your career in music?
There's so much that I've learned in the past year or so of performing. Something that I wish I had known at the start is how lucky it is to be in a room full of people who know more than you of what you're doing. I think at the beginning, when you're new to the whole music industry, it's easy to feel vulnerable and insecure about it, but it's the best thing is like being around musicians who have experience, and it just amps you up to be better at what you do, and it's inspiring, and it's like the greatest thing that I could have had at the beginning. It's okay to be new and to ask questions, and that's the way you just get better at this whole lifestyle, I think.
record yourself, keep track of your growth and your development. I've really come to see the value of keeping track of your own history through audio and video. Not only is this helpful for remembering song ideas or things that you were passionate about at a particular time, these fragments can also serve as little mementos for when you're feeling discouraged, down, or unsure about your relationship to music. I also wish I learned the basics of a DAW earlier on, so I was able to better record my own ideas. I think that being able to do so is very rewarding and empowering. Again, the more time you spend on it, the better you'll get. And the whole idea is that if you start now, you'll be able to gradually build up to that 10,000 hours sooner.
Name a local artist who's inspired you and why.
A local artist who's inspired me and why, I mean, I just put a song out with Ria Mae, and so she's obviously on my mind, but I would probably say Ria is one of the artists locally who's really inspired me. I think she's done such a good job at just branching into the Canadian scene and beyond in the pop world in general, and kind of, you know, breaking down the stereotypes of what an East Coast artist is, which I think is really cool. I think, you know, there's a lot of people doing that, you know, more and more pop and hip hop and, you know, all kinds of genres coming out of Nova Scotia. I think for a long time, people thought that the only thing that was coming out of Nova Scotia was more traditional maritime music. And obviously there's a lot of that and it's beautiful, but there's a lot of different things too. And I really admire the way that Ria has put Nova Scotia on the map as, you know, somewhere that young, relevant, cool pop artists are coming out of. So, yeah, I look up to her a lot.
Thomason, right off the bat, I think he's somebody that I see just functioning at such a high level in what he does, creatively and on the business end of things, but then he's such a genuine person at the same time. I love that duality of just such a pop star, but just a lovely human being to be around. I love what he's done within the queer community, doing like the all ages shows and gender neutral bathrooms in the venues that he plays at. I think he's just finding innovative ways to make the scene more inclusive, and I look up to that.
In what ways do you think we could strengthen our local music scene in Halifax?
I think you have to be bold and willing to experiment and be willing to fail. I think that, you know, your strategy has to be multi-pronged. Like, it's good to be trying many different things at the same time. And I know that can be intense when it comes to when you're working with limited resources, or, you know, you're afraid of making a bad impression, right? So I think that if you, say, for example, try to organize a show that is going to incorporate many different genres and styles within the same lineup, while simultaneously experimenting with during another show that has a specific aesthetic or sound or genre that it's kind of like oriented around. Again, there's not going to be one particular strategy that works best. When it comes to organizing and selecting lineups, I think that it's fun to intentionally try and reach outside of your own clique or your own network. You know, use online resources like Facebook, Google, Bandcamp, etc., right? To try and find other kind of artists and musicians who are out there who have different audiences, right? And then when you bring a lineup together, say that has 4 people, and then each band is coming from a different part of the scene, right? It's like you're just increasing the likelihood of being able to bring out people from different parts of the community.
Strengthening the scene in Halifax. I mean, I think the scene is pretty strong, but I think we have such an amazing resource in Music Nova Scotia, and I think people taking the time to learn more about Music Nova Scotia, become a member if you're not already, really understand how that organization runs and why it exists, and, you know, what we need to do to make sure that it continues to exist, and that, you know, what we need to do to make sure that it continues to serve everyone and be accessible to everybody. How we can diversify, the projects that Music Nova Scotia is supporting and the people who are members of Music Nova Scotia, and make it more attractive as an organization to all kinds of different genres and levels of, wherever you're at in your career. Make it feel accessible to people in all their different spots in the industry. But I think Music Nova Scotia is an amazing resource that we have, and I don't know I genuinely don't know what the situation is in other provinces, but I really feel like the people who work at Music Nova Scotia are really engaged, and they really care about the scene here. They really care about the artists who apply for funding and who become members and all of that, and they will take the time to get to know you, get to know your project, and give you advice to that they can to the best of their abilities. And I think that's really rare. And I think we need to, kind of take advantage of that as much as possible. And we need to make sure that everybody can access that amazing resource, because, I think we're really lucky to have Music Nova Scotia here.
Okay. Name one local person, one local menu item, and one local album you'd like to bring with you on our next quarantine, if it ever happens. Hopefully not.
Local person that I would bring, I'm going to ask the Revival Initiative to let me bring 2 people. They're a package deal. I would bring my friends Brandon Macdonald and Timothy Hatcher. Don't know if they'd want to quarantine with me, but it's not the question here. I think we're so close as friends and bandmates that we'd just be able to be real with each other and still have a fun time. And they're great cooks, so they'd be well fed. Local menu item, I miss having brunch at Rinaldo's. Getting coffee and breakfast there is something that I really miss. And local album would be No Telling When, Precisely 1985 by Adam Baldwin. That's always in my heavy rotation, and I would bring it on my next quarantine journey. Hopefully there isn't one.
Next quarantine, that's definitely a thought to process. So for a local person, I'm going to have to go with my partner. I'm sorry. One local menu item, I'm going to have to go with sushi, ramen, and tempura from Tako Sushi up in Parkland and Clayton Park West. For album, I'm going to go with Aquakulture's latest debut album, which is called Legacy.
I would bring my friend Jo, and she's a really amazing cook. She works at Kismet in Halifax, and so I would let her decide what the menu item was, and then I would help her, obviously, but she really likes to cook, so maybe she would, maybe we could share that position on the island. And I hope that, but whatever we decided to bring, the menu item, I feel like, something that was made up of a lot of different things, maybe tacos or something that we could kind of break down and use the ingredients in different ways and maybe kind of cheat that and make some different things. And then in terms of an album, I think if by the time I was on a desert island, there was a compilation album of all of Chudi Harris's releases ever, or a greatest hits Chudi Harris album, that's what I'd bring, because he makes a lot of different cool stuff, and I feel like if you had an album of everything he's ever released, you could go through so many different genres and moods and all of that in that album, and I feel like that would suffice for me on a desert island. Thanks so much for having me. Really big thanks to the music business and music arts students at NSCC who put this whole thing together. This is very awesome that there's still such a fire to learn about our industry, even in these really strange times. And I think that's the kind of thing that's going to keep our industry going through all this and help us bounce back when it's all done. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be a part of it. And I hope everybody's staying safe and playing music in your homes, enjoying it still. Okay, bye.
50 years from now, when the earth is a barren and desolate place and mankind exists only on the red soil of Mars, some child will come across episode 13 and be inspired. They'll learn about what music used to be like, where some of the great songs and sounds and performances were captured on live video. So people, be grateful that right now you have the chance to experience this in real time, in the real world. Well, the grass is still green and you can get chips and pop at the local convenience stores. Hope you had a good time with this episode, people, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. We've got tons more coming for you, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned, keep your sticks on the ice. Peace.
Revival. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Revival. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
The Revival Initiative. What's an initiative?